Hey guys, I am bringing you a review today of Natasha Denona. These have been pretty hyped up. I feel like there's a lot of PR going around about these right now, and I was curious and I wanted to try them for myself. And I have my sleeve rolled up because we're going to do some swatching. But anyways, so yeah, let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to start off by saying that, number one, this review isn't going to necessarily be the most positive review, like everybody run out and buy these shadows because they're great. It's not going to be one of those kind of reviews. I spent my own money on these. This was $50 for 5 shadows, which isn't ridiculous, but kind of yeah and kind of no. My experience with these shadows wasn't amazing, and it was basically all because of personal preference. I think that there are going to be some people who like these shadows a little more than I did for different reasons. But for me, personal preferences considered, I really wasn't all that impressed with these, and I would tell you to not purchase them. But that's, like I said, I'll tell you all of my preferences and what I thought about these now. Okay, so I decided to pick out just the 5 shadow palette because there was no way in hell that I was going to spend $240 on eyeshadows, never having tested the formula. I'm assuming that you can probably send these back, but I didn't want to do that. That seemed absolutely ridiculous to me, and there was no way that was going to happen. They also have a 10-pan palette. I wasn't impressed with the 10-pan palette. It's $100, and that was kind of, I wouldn't say reasonable for me, but that was a little more up my alley. Had it been a full palette, I thought that it had like multiple looks in it, had it been cohesive, but it just felt like single shadows to me, plopped in a palette that didn't go together. Like I said, total personal preference, so I wasn't impressed with that one. The 5 shadow palettes, I kind of felt the same. I felt like most of them were really boring. They were like palettes that I had tons of colors of. I didn't feel like the looks were necessarily that cohesive. Kind of yes and no. I don't feel like there's I didn't feel like a lot of them had complete looks, or if they did, they were really boring. So this one was, the only thing it's really missing is like a nice, just light all over lid color. So I went ahead and went with this one. I actually wear a lot of teals, greens, and blues. I have green on today. This is my St. Patty's Day look. But so anyways, these are colors that I would actually use quite a bit of. So everybody's talking about the packaging. Yeah, the packaging's kind of cheap. I don't know if they were going for like a super sleek, modern, like Apple type look, but I think it just kind of reads as a little bit cheap and unimportant. Like I said, personal preference, but I don't really care about packaging. I like cool packaging, but packaging isn't that big of a turnoff unless it's just bad. Let's see, I'm just going to read off the colors to you and then swatch them because I can't do 2 things at once. I think this is gray brown. This is probably petroleum blue. This is the butchering anthracite shade. This is powder blue probably, and this is quicksilver. I don't know. Here's the back of the packaging. I will swatch these quickly for you. They swatch absolutely beautifully. Boom. So, I mean, they swatch great. Now I need something to wipe off my hand. Let me go do that. Baby wipe to the rescue. So yeah, they swatch beautifully. The colors are nice. There you go. There you go. I mean, yeah. I'm actually going to wipe those off too because they're kind of pigmented. Okay, one of the things that really surprised me about these shadows, and I probably should have watched more reviews because now I'm kind of noticing people saying this, but was how much product that they kick up. I tried both synthetic and natural bristle brushes with these, and it didn't seem to matter. They still kicked up a ton of product. I mean, look at that. Did you see that happen? Do you see all that loose product in there? Do you see that crumbly mess on there? So these are messy. That was a synthetic brush. That's a natural brush. Oh my gosh, that's a mess. Oops. And here's another one with a MAC 217. I mean, that one's not as bad. So they're not all ridiculously bad, but that was crazy. As you saw from the swatches, these are really, really pigmented shadows. That's both a pro and a con to me. I like pigmented shadows, but the reality of my life is that I get up every day and go to work. And so I can't necessarily, I can do what I want, but I would rather not have crazy eye makeup. I like a more soft, blendable look, a little pop of color. I like the option. I like to be able to build my eyeshadow up to extreme pigment or not. I hate to like spend a lot of money on shadows that can really only be used in one way, if you know what I mean. So for me, that's both a pro and a con. I see a lot of people really liking the fact that they're like overly pigmented, but for me, that's almost a negative. I'm doing a review. I have previous experience with other shadows, so I can't help compare these to other shadows. My favorite eyeshadows in the world right now are Makeup Forever shadows. They're the bomb. I love them. They work beautifully for me. They blend perfectly every time. I just love them. They're at a similar price point as the Natasha Denona. The Natasha Denona are actually a little bit cheaper in a sense. So I can't help but compare those shadows to the Makeup Forever shadows. And when we're talking about blendability, I just feel like the Natasha Denona shadows fall short compared to the Makeup Forever shadows. On their own, had I never tried them, I would think they were okay. Having tried the Makeup Forever, they are just so ridiculously blendable. I'm going to show you a picture here at some point in the video, but I was able to create the exact same look pretty much. I mean, it was pretty similar with this palette as I was with this palette. And if you notice, I mean, there's quite a bit of difference. Like those two shades I was able to dupe by mixing this with some black in it. These shades are so, the move shadows are so blendable that you can literally just make your own shadows. I mean, you can make your own colors. You can add a little bit of black to this one, or they're just that blendable and they're that good. And so trying to use this compared to this and compare blendability, I gotta say these just kick butt. I'm going to show you a comparison picture that I did during Moof on one eye and Natasha Denona on the other. One thing that I really think I should note, I talk about how pigmented these shadows are, but I didn't have a dupe for this in the Makeup Forever palette. I mean, there's no, I don't know that there's a dupe alive for that shade. Like, that is just glowing. Don't make fun of my eye look, because I don't do eye looks for you guys. I'm not very confident in my eyeshadow blending skills or my eyeshadow application skills or whatever. And it was just like a random day and I didn't even bother to like put on eyeliner or mascara or anything like that. I was just literally wanting to showcase the actual performance of the eyeshadows and how they performed for me. And then I thought, after I was done, I was like, oh, I should probably take a picture and show you guys. So if you look at the picture, you can see that one side, the Natasha Denona side, is quite a bit more vibrant than the Makeup Forever side. So that's pretty much where it ended for me. If you look at my eyelashes on the Natasha Denona side, look at all that fallout. My whole eyelashes are green, which is just crazy. I had a really hard time getting the deeper shade in the outer crease to blend, so it's coming across as really patchy. The black, the really dark grays in the palette I didn't feel like blended very well at all. I worked on those, you know. It wasn't like, oh, let me dab these on and pretend like they don't blend. No, I worked on those. They really weren't blending. I couldn't get them. They were almost like stuck on my face. And even the lid shade, if you notice the super pigmented green color, it didn't want to blend. I would have had to have actually put on more color just to get any color into the inner corner of my eye there. And I didn't want to do that because they had so much fallout. Then I would have had green fallout everywhere. So I really wasn't excited about that. Then if you notice on the outer corner of my lower lash line, I didn't put any shadow there. That's all fallout. That's not me blending out the lower lash line. I didn't do any of that. I just worked on the top, and that's all fallout. I did also have fallout on the cheeks from both brands, but I had cleaned it up before I thought to photograph it. I didn't feel like either one was like seriously terrible, but I did have fallout from both brands. So for me, if you combine so all of these things considered, I'm not that huge on pigmentation. The blendability was subpar for me. The other thing that I really disliked about the Natasha Denona palettes that I already mentioned was I didn't like the purchasing options. I don't like the idea of a $239 palette, even if you're getting a ton of product. Even if the product is actually a better value than other brands of eyeshadow, I don't like the idea of a $239 palette. I don't like that the $239 palette only had, what, 2 to 3 mattes in it? It didn't have, I don't know, I didn't actually verify that today, but I'm thinking it had less than 5 mattes in it. I like shimmers and everything else as well, but I have to have some mattes in my look to ground it. So that's really disappointing for me. I thought the 10 pan palette, like I mentioned, it looked like just random shades put together. Like I didn't feel like I could get an eye look out of it. The 5 pans were kind of the same. So I just felt like if you compare all of those things, I would much rather buy the Makeup Forever shadows. Yes, per ounce or per gram. The Makeup Forever shadows are a little bit more expensive, but if you wait and buy them in palettes, you get a lot more diversity for your money. You get a lot more variety, and I know that a lot of you guys that are going to watch this video are project panners like me, and you're like, we know better than to buy huge products that never ever finish up. Like we would rather have smaller pans of different colors than to have one big pan of anything, because we know how long it takes to use up stuff. So, and I also just felt like, you know, her palettes are really heavy on the shimmer. And I feel like so many brands do shimmer pretty well. I mean, even cheap brands can do shimmers pretty well. I think she does a great job with her shimmers, but I just feel like that's one of the easiest shades to replicate. It's the matte shades where brands tend to fall off and have trouble with, and I feel like her brand struggles with the matte shades as well. Urban Decay does a great heavily pigmented shimmer shade, and it has fallout. I would put Urban Decay up against her shimmer shades. Total just opinion there. I am being a little over dramatic. These just aren't for me. I just think that when you consider all the things and all the elements, for me, they're definitely not for me. And if someone were asking for my opinion, I would tell them to stay away and to stick with Urban Decay or Moof or Lorac. And so those are all my thoughts on the Natasha Denona palette. Obviously, I only had 5 shadows to choose from. I can't tell you what all the $239 palette is like. I did watch some reviews after I kind of formed my own opinion, and I felt like we all kind of were saying the same things, even though some people were still like, yeah, these are great, but for me, they're a definite no-go. I don't want a bunch of stuff in my collection that's good, but not as good as other things. So I may have been a little dramatic and a little harsh, but you know, it's just personal opinion. Anyways, so I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and let me know if you've tried the Natasha Denona, and let me know what you think about them, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!